Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the mega popular supernatural Netflix series Stranger Things.
As a love letter to the 80s classics that captivated a generation, the show is set in 1983 Indiana, where a young boy vanishes into thin air. As friends, family, and local police search for answers, they are drawn into an extraordinary mystery involving top-secret government experiments, terrifying supernatural forces, and one very strange little girl.
It's a mystery and rewrite history. Wait, wrong show.
Wrong show. I think it's Scooby-Doo.
That's DuckTales. Yeah, I could fit anything at this rate.
Right.
So we had heard about this show quite a bit. We had not seen it at the time, but
now we're speaking of when it first premiered.
The first series, the first season, yeah.
Right.
And people were talking about it. It was winning awards. It was pretty much a hit on the internet. And it's usually not something we watch, but they said, okay, we'll check it out. And then we were hooked after like the first one or two episodes. Mm-hmm. And it's a show that's definitely binge worthy.
Definitely.
Because each episode, it gets stronger and stronger into the mystery. And then you got to see what happens. You got to see what happens next. Even though the episodes are like clocking in at almost an hour, you can just still sit all day and watch the episodes. I think that's why they are only like a few at a time. Because like you'll be glued to the TV for like hours.
Now, the writing, of course, is spectacular. The first two seasons are exemplary standouts for what great writing is for this type of series. The characters are unique, they're strong, they're well-rounded. Each one is individual and very different. You can't just swap out characters and you've got the same person that looks different. Right. The storyline was unlike anything you'd ever seen. And what really was great, since, of course, I'm a kid of the 80s, it was very clear that they were very authentic in sticking to the set and the designs and the clothing and the hairstyles and everything of the 80s. Right. So it was really cool. Right. I really, really loved it.
Which is great because we're starting to see a trend now where people kind of only haphazardly reference the 80s, and they explain that they're personally, depending on the person, they're embarrassed
of the 80s. It.
Yeah, they're personally embarrassed by what was in the 80s, so they modernize the 80s stuff. I don't know how you do that.
Of them either.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. They're embarrassed of what happened, so they either pretend these things didn't exist, or they have some modern things, or they adjust them where it doesn't look wrong to them. It's like, well, you're kind of changing what really happened. Exactly. You want to pretend that the 80s never happened? Come on.
Then make another show.
Right, with different time setting or something.
But this show does it fantastically, and it's so funny when we were watching the first season and the music came up and I kept saying, I know that song, and this is this song by this person, and this is this song by this person. It was like going down memory lane, and it was a joy. Now that we've talked about the pleasantness of it, we have to talk about the unpleasantness of the actual story arc in the first season, where, as we discussed, Mike, was it Mike that disappeared?
I think, no, it was Will.
Will disappeared.
I keep mixing them up somehow.
Yeah. Well, Will disappeared, and it seemed like it was pretty cut and dry at first, and then all these different things started happening, and I don't know where these people get these impressions that there were no strong female characters in this show prior to season 3, but we'll start with season 1 with his mom, played by Winona Ryder, and she just would not give up on finding him and knowing that he was still alive. I mean, no matter how many people told she was crazy, she was very strong. Yeah, her character's a little kooky, but she's a very strong female character. I see nothing wrong with being kooky and strong. I think she does it perfectly.
Right, and it's usually not a combination you see that often. The closest is like unassuming, where they look kind of like they're geeky or they're lazy or something, and then when it's time to fight or get to work, then they're a whole different person. So, yeah, I completely agree.
Now, of course, in this first season, we're introduced to all the characters, and they're all baby versions of themselves, and they're excellent actors. Excellent. I just know the way to put it. They're excellent, strong, terrific actors who have, promising careers in Hollywood even after this series finishes.
Right.
So let's talk about what made season 1 stand out and the cliffhanger before season 2.
Right. Well, it seems like at first when you see it, it's going to be something like E.T., which they kind of sort of presented within the trailers. Mm-hmm. And when you get to see it, like, okay, there is a little bit hints of E.T. and other 80s movies, but it's done on purpose. They're not just straight up ripping off a bunch of 80s movies and stuff. It's just using the tropes, but still telling a new story. Right. Because to this point, this story is actually very unique in terms of the mystery of going on with the town and the government and the girl named, they called her L or 11. Mm-hmm. So it makes sense on why they did that. And there's still lots of time for fun. I mean, it's still kind of a really dark, supernatural, pretty much horror show. Mm-hmm. But it was still 80s, so there was still some really, really fun things happening. So they made sure to throw in, like, the times when the hit movies came out, like Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and all these different movies.
I love them all.
Yeah, all these different movies came out at the time and what it was like for them. Like, you're seeing it as it happens.
And I did see it as it happened originally. But what I do really love about this is that even though there is the horror element, it's not like gratuitous. Exactly. And you children the age of the kids in the series can watch this.
Right, it can handle it, because with some other series we've seen where it's just horror for the sake of being horror, the jump scare. I mean, it has one or two jump scares, but that's not the entire point of it. And it's not just mindless horror and blood and stuff. It only happens like if a character has been taken out or a monster has gotten somebody, but it still plays an element. It's not just there because, oh, it's Netflix, you have no limits, we can go crazy.
Absolutely, and it's very intelligent, very brainy, very smart. So without getting into a lot of detail of how it happens, we know that this many years later, the cliffhanger was what drew you to season 2 because Will was found. But if you've never seen this series, watching the entire season 1, we haven't given away any spoilers.
Right.
And
it's been out quite a while.
Even without watching the show, it was told online at the end of season 1 that Will was found and there was a new cliffhanger. Right. So the cliffhanger for season 1 leads you to season 2. And what was the cliffhanger for season 1?
They know what happened to Elle. She was missing after getting rid of I think it was a Demogorgon.
Right.
And then she was stuck in the Upside Down.
And she helped to save
Right. And it shows what happened when she got out, how she was found, and the sheriff was taking care of her for a while, keeping her hidden because the government was still looking for her, and they were trying to do this. Whatever, I don't know what they were doing with the monsters. Still never explained. Like, what are you doing? You quit opening the thing. People are getting eaten.
Right. Then we go to season 2. And with season 2, as you said, there's a search for Elle. And they introduce another... Well, we forgot to mention, we're very sorry. In the first season, Elle was also a very strong female character. Even as young as she was, her role is great and the actress is fantastic at portraying the character. So we get to season 2, and you have Elle, who's a strong female character. You have the mom of Will, who's a strong female character. And they introduce a third girl, a redhead. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry, guys, but she has an interest. I think it's
Maxine or Max.
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
And she has an interest in Caleb.
I think that's his name. Yeah. If we're wrong,
it might be his it might be his actual real name. I'm referencing.
Right.
So, sorry if we're getting confused, but she has an interest in him, and she's a very strong female character. Slowly, she's brought about, and then also, Mike's sister grows into a stronger female character in season 2 as well.
Right.
And this was also another unique storyline.
Right.
Strongly written, great script, superb acting.
Right.
And it was just as engrossing and on the edge of your chair viewing, I should say, as it was in season 1.
Right.
You were not disappointed with season 2.
Right.
It was just as spectacular season 1.
And the marketing also had it come out for Halloween with 8 episodes, which makes sense because people were kind of really binging watching and like, okay, you gotta do other things. So they made 8 episodes and they hit the titles of the episodes so people couldn't figure out just by reading them, because it was a habit that people were figuring out things just by titles and the theory. So they did that. And the show takes place also in October to marketing and the time when Ghostbusters came out. Right. So that was another great shout out to the 80s, which of course we loved. And they also used like Michael Jackson's was it The Thriller with Vincent Price for the trailer? So they use a lot of standout soundtracks and movies for the time to help the promotional advertisement for the show.
Yes.
And it did get even darker. So
yes,
it did fit because of what happens with Will and the creature from the Upside Down. That we're not really sure what the name of the other one is. Another creature there, and it wants to come into our world.
Right.
So it's latched on to Will, and he can like see through him, I think. So he's sort of like a way to get into that world without being there.
Right. And then, of course, the kids that portray the roles have grown a little more, and you can see the growth.
Right.
Not just physically, but in their acting and different things. And in this one, as you mentioned, Will still ends up being involved when the creature actually ends up entering him at some point. So we won't give any more
spoilers,
right?
Because each episode has its own really big plot, and it keeps growing and growing, and more characters being introduced. So.
But as before, the mom realized something was wrong, something wasn't right about him.
Yeah,
and he was acting as if everything was okay, but it wasn't. So then we'll just say the cliffhanger for season 2, of course, leads us into season 3, which took a bit of time to be made, and the cliffhanger for season 2 was for leading to Stranger Things 3, right? Yeah.
It almost looks like if they hadn't told you that was being renewed, it looks like that was the end. They have the school dance, and Will's back to normal, Elle's back. It looks like everything's fine until you see the monster in the Upside Down watching them still from the Upside Down, still watching them. So that was your cliffhanger.
Right.
Then it fast forwards to months or a year later, and it goes into summer, 4th of July.
On exactly the day of 4th of July, and the entire season was released on Netflix on July 4th.
Right.
So after barbecuing, we're sure just like us, millions of households everywhere barbecued and then binge watched season 3 until we were completely done.
Right.
And it was exciting. It wasn't what we were expecting.
Yes, it was a little different.
And of course, they're much older now. And then they introduced another strong female character, Robin, who works in...
It's like an ice cream parlor. I think they call it Ships Ahoy. It was like they're parodying Baskin Robbins, I think, and it's a ice cream parlor. She never wants to do her job. Like, is this Stranger Things, a regular show?
And she works with the character who was a very popular guy who they never thought would help him, but in season 2, he actually helped them to escape. And then now he's working in the shop with Robin, who's a very strong female character. And again,
they actually added more. The female character is actually more predominant if you pay attention when you watch the season. They're actually more predominant this season, which isn't completely a bad thing, because like, okay, they get some more spotlight, they get more screen time, because all the characters have fan bases. Everyone has their favorite.
Well, it's never a bad thing when you add strong characters that can hold their own and who lend a lot of life to the script and the performance.
Right.
And then Max became stronger.
Right.
Elle, she became more stronger physically and psychically, but she seemed to be dealing with
more emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and now that she's having like normal teenage emotions, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Exactly.
So now that's the other weakness. Oh, this is not Star, please.
And then the mom became a little more kooky, but she still is a great character.
Right.
And in this season 3, it gets really, really government dominated as far as like conspiracy theory, and the conspiracy theories are true in this show. Right. And
it feels like they waited longer to get to that.
Right.
Because of what happened with season 2. They made it more of a comedy, and you relax a little bit with the first 2 to 3 episodes. Then after that, then it started getting to the plot, like you said, the government plot, and the conspiracy theories. Then it developed. I think they wanted to give you a breather before crap hit the fan, because that's usually a trope. If it's nice and it's fun and it's happy, that means crap's about to come the very next episode.
And then, as usual, the mom figured out something was wrong, and then Sheriff Hopper ends up going with her to try to figure out how to resolve it. We don't want to give away any spoilers, but there's a whole lot more action in this season, and there's a lot more, as you say, teen angst and shipping and relationship
which seems
drama,
to, for some reason,
and not only in the the teens, but also adults.
Right. Which seemed to be, for some reason, a popular topic when they were discussing season 2. They kept talking about the kiss scene back in season 2. I'm like, okay, someone really wanted to see more shipping. Like, please, you remember you got a story here, so like, just calm it down.
But the story for season 3 is fantastic. We didn't see it coming. There's a lot of things you just didn't figure out.
It's so much.
And the cliffhanger for season 3, and there is a cliffhanger, definitely lets you know there's a 4th and final season coming.
Right.
And it's going to be
one
heck of a mother.
Right.
There's no other way to put it.
Yes,
it's going to be the season
of all seasons
for Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see it. I think you were saying something, they may have already recorded it.
Yeah, because they were having some issues, both with for the things having to do with the actors and their payroll. Mm-hmm. Or with claims that the ideal was taken, mm-hmm. or mostly it had to do lawsuits or something.
Right,
and it looks like they updated the script because we can see a lot of modern day influences that weren't even existent in the 80s, but they added in there so it keeps with the trend of the current trends.
And this is the first season they made those type of changes.
So it might be in the next season as well.
And then also Finn Wolfhard is now voicing a character on
Carmen Sandiego.
Yes,
reboot.
on Netflix, and it's really cool. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's a great show. I remember the original Carmen Sandiego. It has a lot of similarities, but it's different as in her age. She's younger, and in the action that keeps throughout the series, and we're looking forward to season 2 in the mystery, right? And at first, I was a little put off because I'm like, this is really different, but by the second episode, or third episode, it was the second or third, I really got into it, and yes, I was really happy that Mike, Finn Wolfhard, is actually voicing the character who actually plays the game in the series. So again, if you haven't watched that, watch it. And if you haven't watched Stranger Things, I don't know where you've been, but you should. If you don't like horror, this is a totally different take on the horror genre. You will like this. You will not be afraid to go to bed. You will not have nightmares. It's not that type of show. It's just a really great, brilliant show with brilliant actors, brilliant production, and it's something that you should take a look at. If you have seen Stranger Things seasons 1, 2, and 3, or you just stopped at 1 or 2, let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yes. So thank you so much for watching. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you want to do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket.